Hiya, Barbie.
Hi, Ken.
You want to go do a podcast?
Sure.
Jump in.
Ladies and gentlemen, Barbies and Kens, Kellys of all ages, and everyone else, welcome to Binging Barbie, a Barbie movie podcast. I'm your host, Jay, and with me I have two wonderful co-hosts. They're the Queen of the Waves. We have Sara, a returning guest, and for the first time, the host of the Franken-Files, Samariel, is here.
Woo! What's up, babies? I'm so excited for this. You don't even know.
Yeah, you've been one of our earliest supporters, so we're very...
When a friend told me, like, hey, Jay's doing a Barbie podcast. Do you know about this? I, stopped everything. Because I am a Barbie fiend. One of my biggest quests as an adult, I'm now 25 years old. I have spent a lot of money rebuilding my Barbie collection from when I was a kid. Because, I don't know if your family ever did this, but there was, the purging of the VHS tapes. And we just never saw them again. And now as an adult, I'm like, I need my Barbie collection again. So I'm very excited to be here and to talk about Barbie.
Yeah, we're really excited to have you here.
Hell yeah.
You got into it a little bit, but yeah, usually we ask our first-time guests about what is your Barbie history.
Yeah, so I am the target demographic for Barbie movies. They started making them for people like me. I was the perfect age when Nutcracker came out. Nutcracker is my number one. I will not hear Nutcracker slander. I love you. I will not hear it. Nutcracker's amazing. And so it was just sort of a spiral from there. I had, the Clara doll with its special stand that if you, moved it, she would do a pirouette. Oh. It was really pretty. And she was so, articulated. Articulation, her joints moved very well. Because she was a ballerina. And yeah. So, that always, was a lot. That meant a lot to me. And then, as time went on and I got a little older, Princess and the Pauper came out. I wore that CD down. I listened to it so much. To this day, years later, I was working at a store, and I wound up talking with one of my cashiers, and she mentioned the opening song, and my brain immediately was like, "Woo, we're late. We have maximum 22 minutes for your royal fitting, and then it's move to your speech at the Historical Society. After that, we have to rush, and I mean rush, to the Horticultural Society tea." It's in there. So deep. And, as an adult, I was really worried of, looking back at Barbie and being like, this is gonna suck, you guys. These movies are gonna be bad. And I was pleasantly surprised that actually a lot of them are really, really good. And I mean, obviously, anything that was specifically made to sell something, it's not gonna win an Oscar. But, they're genuinely really good, really fun movies. And I've really enjoyed, getting to, re-attain that as an adult and be like, no, actually, Barbie rules. And anyone who says otherwise can fight me on it.
Yeah, that's definitely been the journey of this podcast, kind of. I went in more from a different perspective. I wasn't really sure what to expect, but then sort of rediscovering these movies. And I wasn't a huge fan as a kid. It was kind of like one of those, oh no, it's a girl thing, I can't like that. Mm-hmm. But revisiting them, it's been pleasant with some of them. Some of them it's been less pleasant. I don't think I enjoyed Thumbelina.
Thumbelina is rough. Because that was clearly, I mean, this isn't the episode for it, but that was clearly the let's make an environmentalism film. And the big plug was all of our toys are made in recyclable boxes, and then they never did that again. So I was like, all right. That was just that one time, I guess. Sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, like I said, anything that is specifically made with the purpose to eventually sell toys is always a little ugh. But some of them, you can definitely feel there is the passion there of we actually want to make something good. We want to tell a really good story, and by golly, we're going to do it. So,
yeah. For those of you just joining us, we are a podcast about Barbie movies. Each week we watch one of the straight-to-DVD animated Barbie movies, and we rate its story, characters, animation, voice acting, and music to see how it stacks up. And this week we are talking about the 17th animated Barbie movie, Barbie in a Mermaid Tale.
Yes. Yeah, this is the last movie that I ever sought out, like, with a purpose. Because there was a lot of, when I was a kid, like, they were always put in front of you. And, like, as I got older, I was doing a lot of babysitting. And the girls I was babysitting always wanted to watch, like, Barbie movies, which I was like, oh, no, I have to watch a Barbie movie? And so it was very fun, like, getting to watch it with them. And Mermaid Tale was the last film that I was like, I need to see this movie. And I couldn't tell you. If you hadn't said already what the next one after this is, I would not have been able to tell you what it was.
Yeah, Sarah, I know you also enjoy this movie quite a bit.
Yeah, it was my introduction to mermaids, just like when I was like, mermaids everything.
Yes.
I really wanted to get a mermaid tail after that. I remember one of my friends had a pool and she got a mermaid tail, and I was like, now I'm coming over to your house and we are using your mermaid tail because I need to.
Yes.
So,
Yes, correct. I also had a massive mermaid phase. It was like aquamarine and H2O, just add water. It was fully down that rabbit hole. Mermaids were cool, man. Mermaids are cool. They didn't stop being cool. They are still really cool.
Yes. Yeah. So, just to do some background info on this movie, it was released March 9th, 2010 on DVD, followed by a TV airing on Nickelodeon on April 4th. So a month later gives it kind of time to get those sales up. And it's directed by Adam L. Wood. This is his first feature production, and he would go on to direct some of the Mighty Mighty Monsters movies. I had never heard of that series before, but that's and then also some of the Lego Ninjago series. But one interesting thing I found out is he actually worked as an animator for Pixar.
Hell yeah.
So a little bit of a crossover there. And it is written by Elise Allen, returning once again. She's kind of become the main writer for these Barbie movies. She did the Fairytopia movies, Thumbelina, quite a few of the recent ones. And the music is by B.C. Smith. This is the first time we're hearing about him. He's an American composer who mainly works in live action movies, but apparently he has like a passion for animated movies, so he decided to do some
detour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this isn't the first this is the first Barbie movie he did, but not the last one. And then the lyrics are by a ton of people. Most notably, we have Amy Powers, who has done lyrics for a lot of these Barbie movies. I believe she worked on Princess and the Pauper that early on.
Hell yeah.
So,
woo.
Yeah, it's a mermaid movie. It as John, my co-host, who will hopefully be joining us shortly, he texted me while he was watching the movie. This movie has the plot of Aquaman.
I was gonna say this. If we didn't bring it up, I was going to bring this up. This is literally the plot of Aquaman, but it came out first.
Yeah, it is. Who knows if James Wan, the director of Aquaman, watched Barbie: A Mermaid Tale, but
and said, "What if instead of a sparkly pink dolphin, we had Willem Dafoe?"
I mean, I could see Willem Dafoe playing a sparkly pink dolphin.
I could also see that, although I feel like it has a significantly different tone.
But yeah, this is kind of capitalizing on the mermaid trend of the time, where we have the TV show H2O, Just Add Water, which premiered in Australia in 2006, but is kind of, spreading around the world and getting more popular.
As it should.
It was on Nickelodeon, I believe. Oh, sorry, what did you say?
As it should.
As it should. Yes, the world needs to know.
Yeah, and also Sam mentioned Aquamarine. So.
Aquamarine, starring Sarah Paxton, JoJo, and the other gal whose name I can't remember, who's in American Horror Story now. I don't remember what her name is, but It was, I forget what year it came out. I want to say either 2004 or 2006, but it's about like these two girls who find a mermaid that washes up after a big hurricane, and if they help her fall in love, they get a wish, and they're gonna use it so that they don't have to move away from each other because they're best friends. But like there was a point in time where I had that movie fully memorized. It's just so quintessential of like, I mean, I feel mermaids are so cool, especially as a kid, where it's like, I could be a normal human, but also I could have secret magic that you don't know about. Which is sort of like the epitome of these kinds of mermaid stories that I as a kid loved very much. Which might have been a good sign as an early child that, hey, maybe I'm not cis. But, we'll get into that when I'm older.
Yeah, I mean, it's a common... I mean, mermaids are kind of evergreen, at least since the Disney Little Mermaid movie. But yeah, it is interesting that there's this sort of resurgence here in the mid to late 2000s. And we've already talked about Mermaidia, which I actually think on the Mariposa episode, I said that Mariposa very much felt like a redo of the first Fairytopia movie. I actually think this movie feels like a redo of Mermaidia.
A little bit, yeah.
It shares more plot points with Aquaman. But there are actually a surprising number of similarities, and that they have the same writer as well, kind of. Yeah, just to do a very quick plot summary, we have Merlia. She is a teenage surfer who lives in Malibu, as Barbies are wont to do.
That is a very, like, if you have that name, how are you not a mermaid? Just like, I have...
Listen, they already had Malibu Barbie, and they're like, what else do we need? And they decided to just double up and have Malibu Barbie also be Mermaid Barbie. So, it worked out.
Yeah. And during a competition, she's surfing and her hair turns pink. And apparently that's an issue.
Apparently that's a problem, and not an absolute bonus. The amount you will save on going to a salon. But no, someone's got to have an existential crisis.
Yep, and she meets a dolphin named Zuma underwater who tells her she can breathe underwater because she's actually a mermaid. And at home, Merlia's grandfather reveals that her mom, Calissa, is the mermaid queen of Oceania who was deposed by her evil sister, Eris. And now Merlia has to return to Oceania and save her mother. Again, the plot of Aquaman.
It's the plot of Aquaman.
And
So a friend I watched this movie with even pointed out, like, Calissa looks like the actress who plays the mom in Aquaman.
yeah.
Like, I forget what the name is.
Nicole Kidman.
Nicole Kidman.
Yep.
She looks like Nicole Kidman. And I was like, yep, you are correct. Also, Break, I love him so much. We don't see a lot of, like, grandparents in Barbie films, but there's something about him and his, like, way of, like, getting on the same level. He's a good parent, and I respect a good parent who's also a dweeb. We'll get into that later. Yeah. Sorry. Continue with your summary.
Oh, yes. So Calissa agrees to help, Merlia agrees to help, but only because she wants her mom to make her quote-unquote normal again. That's kind of going to be her arc through the movie.
But if you had the chance to be a mermaid, like,
right?
what girl?
This is the dream of 16-year-olds across America. But no! But listen, puberty is a difficult time, and when problems come up that you don't expect, people freak out and do whatever they have to do to cope, including throw away incredible gifts.
Yeah. So she agrees to go on this quest, and that's kind of the end of her angsting for a little bit, because she teams up in Oceania with two mermaids named Kayla and Xylee. And they help her find three important things. The first is a comb, which is in a cavern that no mermaid could reach. The second is a dream fish, which Merlia has to impress by surfing in an underwater current. And the third is Eris's necklace. So that means that Merlia has to, distract Eris and steal this necklace. But obviously Eris realizes that her necklace is gone.
Yeah.
So it turns into this confrontation, and Merlia gets stuck in a whirlpool that Eris has created. And so she has to summon the Dreamfish. The Dreamfish offers to return her to her old life, but Merlia refuses and turns into a mermaid so that she can save Oceana. That's probably the biggest connection with Mermaidia, is her sort of metaphorically...
Sort of trade the wings for a tail.
Yeah. And then Merlia obviously wins. She traps Eris in one of her own whirlpools, which takes her to the bottom of the deepest trench, where presumably she'll be able to rise out of that for the sequel.
That's right.
But Merlia frees her mother, and she once again becomes Queen of Oceana, and she gives Merlia a necklace that will let her become human, and Merlia returns to the surface to participate in a surfing competition.
Yep. There you go. That's the movie. Just like Aquaman.
Yes. I mean, it is...
It is, though.
Yeah. And, I mean, obviously it's a common story structure, but it is interesting how many of the plot points are one for one.
Yeah.
Like the same as in Aquaman.
Which is very good. And you know what? I feel like if someone brought that up to Jason Momoa, he would be like, hell yes. He seems like the guy who would be very supportive of that idea.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the story worked for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think as a redo of Mermaidia, which is kind of my theory as to what this is, I think it drops some of the interesting stuff from Mermaidia, but it also adds some interesting new elements. But you do have a lot of the similar things of the ruler of an undersea kingdom is gone, has been kidnapped by these evil people, and then the magic quest is given by a fortune teller, and the magical fish a magical fish serves an important purpose, and then the protagonist, as Sam said, has to trade her wings for a tail, metaphorically here, but literally in Fairytopia. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting to see Elise Ellen once again revisit this old material, but maybe with a keener eye for character development and character arcs.
Sure.
Yeah, I really liked the story. It was just very engaging. Like, everything felt like it should have been there. I mean, a few parts it's like, yeah, you could take that out, but a lot of it didn't feel like a fill for time, where let's put this in here because we need another 15 minutes for the movie and we don't know what else to do.
Yeah, that's fair. I'd be hesitant to compare this to Mermaidia personally, just because the Fairytopia saga is sort of its own thing, and that Mermaidia specifically was sort of about like Alina working together with other people and like them kind of coming over their differences to come together, and this was specifically about Merlia coming into herself as a person, of not being afraid of being herself, which is very fun. I really love this story for a lot of reasons, but the thing that specifically I remember even as a kid watching this and being like, that's great. The bit that always gets me is that there's no like magic that automatically activates. Merlia has to get these items and then figures out how to use them. Like, I loved that when she gets all three items, and it's not like, oh, the magic glowing and all the problems are solved right away. Like, she's like, oh, I have this celestial comb that every mermaid royalty has, and I can show it to the people and go, look, I'm a legitimate like royal because I have this. And you know, her having to recognize like, oh, if I throw this necklace on the ground, it'll show the people that Calissa is alive, and they don't know that. Like, her having to solve the problems of even, like, in the cave, her having to put her hands on the walls to get it to come out of the crack. Like, her actively making those choices to solve the problems was, like, so good. And I love that in this story, because you get a lot of Barbie movies where it's like, I've got the magic 3 items, and now they will glow, and everything will be great. And so having her, like, the word I want to use is gritty. She's a gritty hero. And, like, she starts out, she doesn't want anything to do with this. Like, it's a full rejection of the call. And, you know, she's frustrated with all of this stuff. Like, Briggs tells her, like, yeah, you're half mermaid. And she's like, you're insane. You are a crazy old man. I'm gonna go hang out with my friends. Like, it's not until she is faced with irrefutable proof that's like, all right. And even then, I love that she goes on the quest to, like, put it all behind her. Like, that's the only reason she does it. And so it's not a typical Barbie story. It's a little bit different because she's pushing back and she's actively having to, like, get into it and figure it out for herself. And I just love that because it makes you as the audience also have to kind of get into it and follow it start to finish. I just love it.
What I was really confused about is because she's half human, but Mermaid's already half human. So, like,
listen, if we want to get into how mermaids reproduce, we're gonna be here all day.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a fan fiction somewhere you can read that can explain it, but, like,
well, I was just like, is she like 3/4 human, or like how does that work?
It's I don't know, man.
I think that is a fair point, and I think my comparisons of it to Mermaid is partially just because they have the same...
It's the big movie about mermaids. Yeah.
They have the same writer as well, and so it's like... And a lot of these Barbie characters are very similar, although you brought up sort of the things that make Merly a little bit different, though she is the standard kind, clever, and brave. But I think one of the things about this is it's a story about sort of self-acceptance, and the Fairytopia movies are very much also about self-acceptance. Actually,
they try to be.
Yes. Well,
Let the record show, I adore Fairytopia. I would die for Laverna. She's amazing. And honestly, I think the mermaid design is better in Mermaidia. I don't like Merlia's tail at the end. I think it's stupid. But, like, I don't even remember what point I was making.
The messages of those movies.
Yeah. It's just it's good stuff, and I really liked what this movie did with it. But, anyways.
Yeah, it is. This does fit a trend of these more recent Barbie movies being a bit bolder in how they portray the central character.
Yeah.
Because starting out, like, Barbie and a Nutcracker, which I know you adore, so I'm sorry about this.
Fine. Go ahead.
Like, apparently it's about bravery, but the problem is Clara in that movie starts out brave and is brave through the whole story, and there's no development on that front.
I want to push back against that, but this isn't the Nutcracker episode, so I feel like I probably shouldn't. Well, just because... Okay.
Yeah.
So it starts out as she's just trying to... She sees a fight, and she tries to help, and then she's immediately shrunk and is fully disoriented. She doesn't want to go to Parthenia. She's like, can you just fix me now? And they're like, no, you have to go on a quest. She's like, I don't want to. I'm wearing my nightgown. And, like, she has to do it because there's no other way. She doesn't want to, and she kind of gets dragged a lot. And so I do believe she doesn't start out brave. And she does have to find her way through it, which also has some of the aspect of she does have to make choices along the way. Like, she has to figure out that jail cell is a trick. There's no other, like, she had to figure that out. She had to step up. She had to, like, lie to the guards and get them to go away. She has to step up in ways that she isn't usually allowed to do, like in her very Victorian home. And so, like, I would argue Clara does learn how to be brave. She does have to step up, but I can see why you would say that. I got a Clara defense squad over here.
Yeah, and maybe there are. I think it is interesting. I think those early Barbie movies, the message they want to send versus the message they actually end up sending.
There is a lot of that. Especially the one that comes to me is always Swan Lake, where it's like, what was this about? I don't know. She's a bird now. And now she's not. Oh, magic. She was nice, I guess. She's not even in the finale. It's fine.
Yeah.
Swan Lake is a mess, but I still love it. A lot of these movies are messes, but I still love them. Nutcracker I will defend to the death, though.
So that is fair to, and we were maybe a little bit harsh because it was our first episode. So.
Yeah, no one would consider this film a masterpiece. How dare you? Anyways.
In defense, we were still figuring it out. And
This has nothing to do with Mermaid Tale. This is me getting on my soapbox and going, no, how dare you, finger wag. But all this to say, what I do love about Mermaid Tale is that it does sort of feel like the culmination of, okay, here's all of these things, some of them worked, some of them didn't, and they're genuinely finding really good ground to actually fully make a point that's start to finish. You can feel it, it's easy, it's right there, but it does feel earned. So, yeah.
I think that is what stands out to me, not only about Mermaid Tale, but about a lot of these recent Barbie movies where they don't even need to have the framing narrative of Barbie telling someone.
Oh my god. Barbie as the great prophet.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we have a question. Barbie's like, there once was a girl. This is like Jesus parable stuff.
Yeah, the message is so clear here, and you don't even need to have the Three Musketeers kind of felt the need to constantly hit the point again and again to make sure that the audience is understanding it. Whereas this one, I mean, they do kind of hit it again and again, but it's a little bit, they've eased off a little bit. They're kind of trusting the audience to understand this. Yeah, and it's like a story of self-acceptance, which is great for especially young kids, or really anyone, I think, can benefit from story of self-acceptance. And then that it's also tied into like this mermaid stuff, so it's capturing the audience that way. And I think, as you've both said, that mermaids are kind of in a fascination for both of you. So
There's definitely a thesis to be made here about mermaids as like a queer narrative of feeling out of place in the place that you are and struggling to find acceptance with the framework that you are given of how a person should be, and having to reorient yourself to accept yourself and to say, like, I don't fit in necessarily, and that's not a bad thing. But I don't have the time to write that thesis. So you were about to say something.
I just really like, I feel like this one does self-acceptance better than other movies, because all the other movies are like, they just like push it too much. And, you know, at the end she's kind of like, I still don't really want to be a mermaid, right? And all the other movies are like, oh, I love this new part about me, but at the end of this one, she still hasn't really fully accepted it, kind of.
Yeah.
She kind of has, but she still has a bit more work to do, and I really like that, because it's kind of like, yeah, I don't really need to accept it, like, within, like, I don't need to, like, accept it fully, you know, I can still be working through that, so.
Yeah, to as you've been, like, comparing this movie to Mermaidia ends with her being like, alright, I guess the rest of my life I'm going to be a mermaid, a completely different creature than I was before, and it'd be like, actually, no, you can be a fairy now, we were just kidding. And it's like, oh, but okay, this almost was, like, a really deep point that this could, and then it was like, no, lol. You're actually fine. There's no consequences.
yeah, that's a lot of the earlier Barbie movies when they're about self-acceptance. They do the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer approach to it, where it's like, okay, you completed like, you are different, and your difference completed some important task for us, therefore we can now accept you within our society. Where here, I don't get the sense that that is the reason that, well, it's obviously not the reason that Clarissa accepts Merlia, but there isn't that same sort of like, okay, you were useful for us, you completed a task, you have finished the adventure, and now we can accept you. Yeah,
she does it with her, like, choices of being like, I have the celestial comb, I am showing you that this leader is lying to you. I am trying to help you, the people. Rise up, you have nothing to lose but your chains. Like, she does earn the respect of the people she is trying to help in a very, like, active, distinctive way that, like, is very earned.
Yeah. It is interesting, I think. And your sort of points you're bringing up are kind of making me reconsider a lot of my thoughts of the story, because there is like, I think at a moment to moment basis, a lot of the things don't quite work for me.
There is definitely some stuff where it's like, every time she has to get on her freaking smartwatch under the ocean and be like, hey, can you real quick Google this thing for me? It's like, yes. All right. That kind of does take you out of it. And you're a little bit like, all right, sure, I guess. And Zuma every time being like, oh, I know where that is. It's a 10-minute walk this way. And it's like, okay, thank goodness all these magical places are within a 10-mile radius. But, you know, some of that is like, it's a movie for kids. Yeah. You do kind of have to give it grace. I mean, you don't have to, but I would say you probably should. Otherwise, you're going to have a really rough time with this movie. Because, yeah, it is so overarchingly very good, but there are those, like, moment-to-moment bits where it's like, what? Hold on, what?
I think part of it for me is that this quest that she goes on feels very video gamey, where it's like, here's an objective, and this objective is kind of hermetically sealed from the next objective, which is hermetically sealed from the next objective. Or I guess the last objective is the necklace, which is tied to all of the other ones. But it's sort of like a checklist that the plot is going through. And this was my complaint with Mermaidia as well, where it's like, I didn't find any of those individual steps as interesting as I maybe wanted to find them. My go-to is always Magic of Pegasus, where that is also 3 key items, but each of the little sections with each of those items I find interesting on their own. Whereas here it's like the comb thing is like, okay, yeah, that was okay. The surfing underwater, okay, that was a cool moment, yeah. But I don't know that I was like invested in it. And then the necklace I'm more invested in at that point, because it's more directly
it puts her directly in harm's way, like literally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it does come together in the end.
I love this movie. It's very fun. I made 2 of my friends watch it with me, one of them for the first time, and he was like, that is the most fun I have ever had watching a Barbie movie. Probably because when I made him watch Princess and the Pauper, I wouldn't stop singing. So, you know.
I liked the little Queen of the Waves dance.
Oh my god.
Yep.
I had to go back and I actually YouTubed it, kind of. So now I know the whole dance, so we're just gonna...
Listening to that, like, when it started playing, I was like, it unearthed, like, a deep, deep memory in me of the kids I was babysitting getting up. Like, we were watching this movie, and they would get up and do the dance, and they knew the whole song, and I was like, I did not remember that at all. Oh, yep. I just had to, like, sit and let the, like, flashback hit me. But, yeah, no, it was good stuff.
Yeah. I will say one last thing about the plot from me is the Marilia stuff is kind of a hat on a hat.
A little bit.
They already have the Mermaid Kingdom and the magical quest. You don't necessarily need to introduce this whole other, like... What even is it?
It's the life force of the ocean. Yeah. Obviously. Yeah, that part is a little bit flimsy. It
does add some
It's a reason to not kill the mom. Because we killed Dad, I guess, but, you know.
Yeah. Who knows what happened?
Who knows what happened to Rip? His name is said once. So this man, Break, had a child and named him Rip. Okay. Amazing. Sorry, I just need to get that out of my system.
Yeah, I remember this movie because it's about surfing, and I remember that it was about the time where I think we got Soul Surfer. I remember my mom was like, "Oh, we're gonna watch this new movie, and it's about a surfer." And I was like, "Is it gonna be like Mermaid Tale?"
No, I was like, Soul Surfer, notably the movie where a woman gets half eaten by a shark and must find how to do the rest of her life missing one arm, being a famous like surfer. It's not. No, it is not at all like Mermaid Tale.
I actually got to meet the woman in Soul Surfer once, but anyway.
Sophia Robb?
Yeah.
Nice.
No, the Was it the
No, the
actress or
the actual woman. Like,
Oh, the actual woman.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, the woman who the story is based on.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
But
I was gonna be like, oh, that's cool.
the movie was not like.
Carrie Underwood is also in that movie.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what's his name?
The guy who plays like the dad in like every movie.
Yeah.
I can't think of what his name is, but when you see him, you think movie dad.
Yeah, his son is in the boy. Dennis Quaid.
Dennis Quaid.
Yes.
I believe it.
Yes.
Yeah. So
We're not gonna fact check that.
so like the surfing definitely
yeah.
stood out to me.
These movies are definitely like each other. They both have surfing. Actually, when I watched this movie, the guy who I was watching it with brought up the film Surf's Up.
Yes.
The Penguin.
And that is also coming out at around the same time. So
Yeah.
there's this like fascination with surfing to go along with this Mermaid Tale, which is
When did Johnny Tsunami come out? Is this also the same time as Johnny Tsunami?
it might be. I'm not familiar with Johnny Tsunami.
Johnny Tsunami. It's a Disney Channel original about a
Okay.
kid who he's like I think someone's gonna get me if I get this wrong, but I believe it's a kid who's like a snowboarder, and then his family moves to Hawaii, and he has to learn how to apply his snowboarding to surfing. I just remember the sequel, which is Johnny Capahala Back on Board. I know too much. Anyways, this has nothing to do with Mermaid Tale.
My dad actually said it was the best surfing he's seen since 321 Penguins.
Wow! Deep cut!
Not in this house.
Not in this, no, not in this house, but... We're talking about, like, Soul Surfer, Barbie movies, Disney Channel, and 321 Penguins. Oh, boy.
Yep, I do have on the new Tumblr I created for this. I have been tagging every episode with 2000s nostalgia because I think
Heck yeah.
we're
No,
hitting those
correct.
here.
Absolutely correct, for sure, though.
So overall, I gave it a 4 out of 5, which, yeah, I liked it. Maybe not, didn't blow me away as some others have, but I did enjoy my time with it.
Okay, I gave it a 3. Could have been a lot better, but it was for a kids movie. It was pretty good.
And I gave it a 4.5 because I love this story. I feel like it accomplishes everything that it sets out. It's very like grounded, it's tangible, it's easy to follow as a kid, but it's also like layered in a way that is rad for an adult. So yep.
Yeah, the way you've talked about it makes me want to bump it up a few.
Yes, come with
But
me.
I'm gonna leave it at a 4.
Barbie can do no wrong.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave it at a 4 just
You're
because like
fine.
the quest part didn't get me as
you're
invested as
fine,
some
you're
of the thematic stuff. And now we are joined by John. He made it in here, so he's gonna give us his thoughts on the story as well.
I have thoughts.
Yay!
Apparently I do. Yeah,
Hypothetically.
like I wrote to you earlier, this is just Aquaman the movie.
Yeah, it is.
It really is. It was interesting. It was really interesting. I didn't know what to think. Because it's the same story as Aquaman.
Yeah, but it came out first.
Right, but you could say the comic came out much earlier that the story is based on. But
Sure.
who can tell? But yeah, no, it was a interesting time trying to separate my biases. Okay. But yeah, I give the story a 3.5. It was solid, mostly. There was of course just moments that were there just to be there, like dancing.
Yeah.
Dancing and weird fish that remind me of Shark Tales.
Yeah, that's fair.
Another undersea
Another
movie
yeah, that's
coming
right.
out at the same time.
Another movie that also has a gay allegory.
I have not seen it. All I know is that Martin Scorsese plays a character.
Sure does. He sure does.
Is there a gay allegory?
Yeah. There's a whole thing because the shark guy like doesn't want to tell his dad that he's a vegetarian or whatever.
No, I get that, but
Yeah.
what about Barbie?
Oh,
Was there
okay,
a gay allegory in this film?
I mean, mermaids are like. I made a comment earlier of you could absolutely write a thesis about this sort of, especially this style of mermaid story of I feel out of place in the place that I am. I feel like I don't feel like I can be myself here. I feel questioned and unaccepted by society. And struggling to find and eventually coming to the place of having to say, I don't fit in, and that is okay. I can be myself in whatever form that takes, and even if people around me don't accept it, I just have to accept myself.
How can the dolphin talk to people, and people can understand it?
How can there be a mermaid city underwater? It's magic, man!
Right, but when the dolphin was speaking to our Barbie character, we just assumed that it was because she was a mermaid. But now they just spoke, and it's like, why? Why do they not speak? How is she swimming with that fake fin that's disrupting her legs?
Well, actually,
how can her legs move in such a sideways manner to make that weird shape during that dance sequence?
Oh yeah, that's
How
the
is
dance
her
sequences,
smartwatch able to call underwater?
Yeah, that's the part that I actually do have questions about. Of like, that's some like Apple Watch stuff, but
Call but not Google.
call but not Google. Yeah.
The microphone is not going to be picking up anything but...
Yeah, there's that too. But it's a Barbie movie. It's good.
Also, how did she get her cell phone coverage down there? I would like to be able to know.
Yeah,
But
she's
she
like,
lost
"I still have bars."
bars at some point.
Yeah. Well, her watch ran out of battery before she lost bars, I think.
I don't remember. I know she lost battery, and I was like, nice, get rid of the watch. But it's good stuff.
Yeah, so to hop over back to characters now that we have heard John speak, we start off with Merlia, and like we were saying, she actually gets an arc here.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've had this happen enough that I maybe don't need to comment on it every time the Barbie character gets an arc, but it's still, those first few Barbie movies, the arcs were maybe a little less evident. But here we have a solid arc. She even refuses the call, which, as Sam mentioned, and yeah, then this whole sort of metaphorical self-acceptance journey she goes on, and there's a lot of ways you can read that. I also sort of thought of this is similar to Island Princess, so that it's a bit of a third culture kid story.
Very.
Of someone growing up between these two worlds, although she's not really between them. She's kind of raised in one, but born
And then
in
immediately
another.
gets like thrust into the other. Yeah.
Third culture kid, you grow up in one area, then they're like, oh, actually.
Yep.
I just think, like, with a name like that, how can you not be a mermaid? Like, she couldn't have been growing up. Like, this is a totally perfect human name.
It is definitely like, that's not a normal human name. I had a thought about her name, because one of the things that they say is, like, the royals spinning Marilia is, like, their greatest joy. And I had the thought of, like, Calissa named her daughter a variation of Marilia, because that is their greatest joy. And I was like, that's cute. I like that. I don't think they thought of that. That might just be an accident. But I was like, oh, wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Yeah, Merlia as a protagonist is she's good. I really like her. There are some Barbie protagonists and it's like, this is a cardboard cutout. Watch her go. Which is, what Barbies are. You have the doll and you give her the personality. But in a movie, they do need to have their own, and I think Merlia really does have her own, and it's lovely to watch.
Why was her pink hair so shocking to people?
Right? This is what I'm saying.
It's like, that's, if something like that happened at a sporting event, it's like, oh my gosh, look at those effects. She's doing a whatever. Instead of like, what the heck is this freak? Her hair turned pink.
Look at this
We
weirdo.
stopped. We skipped the music and everything. Everything just stopped, and everyone's like, "Holy crap, she's a freak!"
Yeah.
Especially at a surfing competition in Malibu.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm surprised she was the only one there with pink hair.
Okay,
Honestly, though.
so the Barbie has this cool hair dye thing where where it's blonde until you put her in water. Couldn't she have just put that hair dye on and then, you know, when she
Right.
gets wet in the surfing
Right.
competition?
Yeah, everybody freaking out about the hair dye thing is a little...
It's
All
much.
right, yeah,
It's much.
but you know we need a reason, and it's as good as any, I guess.
A tail is a reason to freak out. Hair.
Does he?
I guess it is Malibu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I guess
it
it's
is
Malibu.
interesting.
I bring up the doll though. I did have this doll.
Oh, I did
get
too.
it. Yeah. Because her whole like the big sell with this doll was that she the sweatshirt that she has with the big hood, that is the tail, and so you would unfold it and pull it down, and then it would become the tail. So on the outside of it, it was the tail, and then on the inside is the sweatshirt, and so you could like swap between her two forms. Whoa! It was honestly kind of lame because it did mean that the tail was then made of cloth, which like some of the previous Barbie dolls, you know, had very different tails that were good. And so it kind of was like, all right, but you know, as a gimmick, it was fine.
And the hair thing,
And
too.
it did have the hair thing, which was really cool.
That is odd, though, that they would have the tail be made of cloth if part of the gimmick is putting the Barbie doll in water.
I didn't say it was the smart choice. I just said for a gimmick, it was pretty good.
Yes. For might be Mattel
Yeah.
not fully thinking
Well,
that
and
through.
especially next to it, I had the H2O dolls, which
Oh.
they had like whole rubber tails that you could take off, and then they had feet, and then you would put the rubber tail back on, and then they were mermaids, and that was cool. I like that. I had Ricky; she was my favorite. Anyways, this has nothing to do with Mermaid Tail.
Yeah, so speaking of mermaids, next up we have Kayla and Xylee. I put them together because maybe other people can distinguish them, but I couldn't.
Yeah.
They're the same.
No. The thing that like comes in my brain to compare them to is the two gals from Mariposa who like have the fashion store because Barbie women can only have so many occupations, despite Barbie's whole, you know, appeal of having every job. But like but those characters, they had their own arcs in Mariposa, where like they like had to realize, oh, we're kind of terrible people and maybe we should not do that. These two gals are a little bit less so. They're still fun. I still liked seeing them. I liked, you know, they're dynamic, and you know, they do contribute of like, here's the plan, here's what we're gonna do. But like they are also just sort of there. The
Yeah.
lovely cardboard cutouts.
I-
Watch them go.
I was wondering how they were just kind of like, okay, let's go on this adventure. And they just kind of
They're
left the shop.
immediately down for treason. They're like, ah, hell yeah, we found a new heir. Let's overthrow the government. I'm like, okay.
And also,
Comrade Kayla and Xylee.
they just like left the shop. It's like, if you were owners of the shop, wouldn't you be like afraid somebody's gonna like see, oh, nobody's in the shop, maybe I'll come like steal stuff? Or if they're employees, wouldn't their boss be like, wow, two of my employees just like left in the middle of the workday, maybe I shouldn't have them as employees
They had to go to
anymore
the Eris Festival. Listen.
for 20 hours?
I don't know, man. Listen, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but it is fun.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that you compared them to the characters in Mariposa, because I think they aren't nearly as compelling, but I do think one interesting thing about them is that their like love of fashion and trends is never chastised by the movie.
Yeah, no.
Which I mean,
It's
this
actually
is-
like celebrated when they're like, oh my god, we got fashion advice from mermaids.
yeah,
Yeah.
which it is. You know, this is a Barbie movie, so obviously they want their audience to be very into the fashion and the trends. But I thought it was a nice moment of sort of often in these types of movies, even these Barbie movies, there's a little bit of like let's paint sort of these
Yeah.
more girly.
Look at this
edge.
bimbo. All she cares about is clothes.
So yeah, every time they kind of push back on that, and I think Three Musketeers did it a bit better with its characters, but I thought that was maybe a little bit more interesting than the rest of their character traits here.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, we have Headley and Jimmy Fallon.
Come on.
This is the second time they've used this name.
Fallon. It is one of the like Barbie names. I don't know
Okay.
where they get their list from, but like it is one that keeps coming back.
Yeah, it seems like, I don't know when Jimmy Fallon started airing.
No, they are
But-
not named after Jimmy Fallon. I can
know.
promise you that.
They are actually, I did look into it, and it is an Irish name that has, it has some significance, but it isn't like a common name, especially in the US.
Mm-hmm.
And it is both Jimmy Fallon, his name is derived from this Irish name, and I assume that the Fallon in these Barbie movies is also derived from this Irish name. But yeah, it seems like it's the kind of name you wouldn't want to be using when...
It's not a great first name, but then again, one of Barbie's sisters is named Skipper. So like, Barbie and names aren't always on the ball.
Yeah. I think I wouldn't have brought this up, except that I don't think Fallon or Headley have a ton of character traits in this movie.
They do not.
They're basically the human mermaids.
You could take them out and nothing would change.
Well, they have to be the ones to Google. So,
But they Google and they're like, there's no results.
well,
Twice.
they figure it out in the end, because Barbie's like, Barbie...
No, they don't. Barbie's like, hey,
No,
this
Merle
is
is like,
probably
no,
it.
hey, these rocks look like things, actually. And then they're like, oh, we found where these rocks are. And then they go
But
there.
you don't need them for that.
Yeah, I think it's kind of just to get some more characters in the movies that they could potentially do dolls of.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Although, I don't even know if they made dolls of them. They're
Yeah.
not significant.
I wouldn't be
They're
surprised
surfers.
yeah. I honestly think they could have done a lot if instead of Kayla and Xylee, you just had Fallon and Headley somehow get them to be the ones to accompany Merle on this quest. So you can have them be her friends throughout the movie, and then you can maybe give them a little bit more character development and character traits. But
That's why I felt they were kind of copies of the mermaids, because they were kind of like, we need two of her friends, but they can't be mermaids because we also need her friends on land. So
Unfortunate.
yep. Yeah, next up we have Zuma, the Willem Dafoe
Sorry,
role.
I just saw your note about Zuma.
Yes, my note is surprisingly not all that annoying as animal sidekicks go.
Is this the third dolphin we've had?
Yeah, we had
Yes.
the Joker dolphin in Mermaidia. And then
Did that one talk? It's been
No,
a while. I don't
no.
remember the... Okay.
it just stared creepily and stole your soul.
Fair
along
enough.
with the turtle. Then there were the dolphins in Island Princess.
Mm.
I don't remember if
I don't
there's
think they
another...
talked either. They think we were
No.
just dolphins.
no, they were strong enough to lift an elephant out of the water, which was a little
Elephant, notoriously good swimmers.
If you want to talk about annoying animal sidekicks, Tika. Bane of my existence. But, yeah, no, Zuma. I don't know why she's pink, other than toys.
I remember that was like just what I had learned about pink river dolphins and like how they only lived in the Amazon, and I was like, wait a second.
Hold on! The Amazon, now in Malibu!
I mean, I'm
It talks
sure they
to
have
humans.
headquarters there.
Yeah, Zuma doesn't really do much. She's just kind of there.
She brings Barbie to the place and that's it.
Yeah, she's the one who's like, oh, I know that place. It's right over here.
She's a Google map.
She's Google. She's Siri.
Yes, Merlia needs to have different people to serve all of the functions that her smartphone
There
could
you
have
go.
served. She needs to have her search engine and her Google Maps.
Perfect. Yeah, Zuma doesn't have much of a personality, which is maybe why she's not annoying. Because animal sidekicks tend to get the personality of Bibble or like nothing.
No, speaking of Bibble, we have.
Oh yeah, Snouts.
That scene in the cave. That's exactly Bibble.
Yeah, that was Bibble stuff, start to finish.
That was, and Sarah can attest to this. The second I heard Snouts make a noise, I just went, "Oh no!"
Yeah. Yeah, no.
John, I'd imagine you having a similar reaction to Snout's
no.
introduction.
Not actually.
Oh?
I was more okay with Snout because it looked more like a sea lion than Bibble looking like whatever the heck he was.
Yeah, Bibble is whatever. Snout. I did like. First up, I liked that they didn't make Snouts pink or weird. It's just a sea lion.
Yep.
And it does. I mean, it doesn't act like a sea lion because nothing acts like. This is a Barbie movie. Nothing is going to act like its actual thing. But like, yeah, Snouts is fine. He's fine. He's cute, but like
Bibble takes up more time than Snout does, which is like,
yes,
I'm fine with Snout.
They budgeted the time for Snouts wisely.
Yes.
Because, lordy, if he was on screen for any longer, I think I would have started to hate him.
Yeah, he's a discount Bibble in everything, including screen time, which is maybe an improvement. Next up, we have Break.
Break! My boy!
Yeah, he only has a handful of scenes.
He's only there for like 2 scenes, maybe, but he's so... I love him.
Who?
He is... Break, the grandpa.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. He's... First off, I love a supportive parent that's not like, oh, my child, I love you, my child. Like, where it's like, again, that cardboard cutout coming in to smooch and then, like, disappear. Like, this is a parent figure who comes in and recognizes distress and is actively trying to support their kid and, like, trying to help them. And as well as he has his own personality that really comes through in his act. Like, the frickin', do you mean weird, like, whoa? Or like, whoa! Like, I like, that was such, like, a brief character moment that establishes, here's who this guy is. He's kind of stupid. He's very sweet. He cares about his kid. And he's a little bit dumb, and I love him very much. He's only, like, in, like, 2 scenes, I think. But he packs so much in them that is just lovely. I just love Break. I just love Break.
He doesn't look like Ken, which is, like, very surprising because there's no other, like, male model except, like, the villain male model and Ken. And
Yeah.
he's different.
Even in the flashback when, like, he's, like, younger, he's still got, like, facial hair, and
Yeah.
he's a dork. And so I do appreciate that, because the Ken is just generic Lego face.
I do think it's interesting. I think this is the first
There's
Barbie.
no romantic interest in this movie.
Well, yeah, and we've seen
They
that
also
before.
say death.
Oh,
Death?
They say death
wow.
When do they say death?
early in the film. Like
Oh, when she says, like, my
when
parents
your parents died, yeah.
Yeah, they do say that.
Mm.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is, I think, the first Barbie movie where we don't have a significant male character.
Yeah.
Because even in Thumbelina, you have
Mm-hmm.
the villain, whose name escapes me, who I very much liked,
It
and who
doesn't
John
matter.
very
It
much
doesn't
did.
matter.
But
When you talk Barbie with people who know about Barbie, no one's gonna remember the villain from Thumbelina. Like, that is so far in the back.
But yeah, like, I'm trying to catalog through, and I think this is because you have Break, and then you have Remo, who's Eris's sidekick. And that's pretty much the only. I guess maybe Snouts is.
Is Snouts a boy?
I don't know. They don't. I don't remember anything about
I
Snouts.
mean, me neither.
So
I mean,
Other
it's
than-
brown. Brown is a more boyish color.
As we all know, male seals are brown,
Female
female
seals.
seals are pink.
but yeah,
This is what we've learned. Thank you for coming to the Barbie nature talk.
I find it interesting because, I mean, obviously these movies are made with girls in mind. Whether they only appeal to girls or not, that's not necessarily something. But yeah, it is interesting to me that this is the first one where they're like, okay, no, we don't need to have the love interest. We don't even need to have a male villain. We can just kind of have it be about a bunch of women and what they do.
Yeah. And I think it's kind of, I mean, this is sort of going back to the things I was saying earlier of, like, Barbie kind of learning from its mistakes. Because you've got, like the Barbie Diaries, which, like, is kind of supposed to be about I am my own person and I don't have to be whatever other people want me to be. I don't have to fit in a mold. But, like, it gets so muddled and lost in all the things, and, like, the boy neighbor guy who's like, I'm your friend Barbie and now I'm your romantic interest because the script says so. Like, this movie has kind of learned from some of those mistakes of, like, this movie is about Merlia. That's it. It's about her and her going through her journey. We don't, like, that's it. We don't need a supplementary guy just because reasons. Like, it is about her and her journey, and she goes through it, and it's great, and I love that.
Yeah, and you bring up this growth. Barbie Diaries was also written by Elise Allen.
Really?
Nice. So maybe some of her, and she does revisit a lot of the same themes and a lot of the same ideas throughout her work here in these Barbie movies. And I don't know how much freedom these writers get. There's not a lot of information on the production, but I do think it is cool to see her as a writer get better and better at making these stories compelling and exploring these themes in coherent and interesting ways. But yeah, speaking of...
He's right.
Speaking of interesting, we have, or maybe not interesting, I don't know, we have Eris, who... John, I think you just typed something there, so...
I did. Yes, discount Laverna. She really is Laverna.
Oh, for sure. She's
all the way down to Kathleen Barr once again.
Barr. What's up?
This is her third villain role.
I love it.
Yeah, she's kind of as you brought up, she's just Laverna. She has the same thing of kidnapping her sister and locking her away, and
I do really like Eris though as a villain. She's maybe not as memorable as someone like Laverna is. But I did enjoy Eris very much. Feel free to tell me if this is a thing I can't say on this podcast. I have this, like, belief of, like, Barbie villains are either conniving, like, weird kind of creepy men or MILFs. And Eris, Laverna, Lydia, like, they are just, like, and I don't know if it's just... like, I don't know what they put in the water over at Barbie, but, like, these, like, scandalous women who are, you know, trying to take over the world, they're always hot, which is like, you know, they don't, you don't want to necessarily lean into, like, oh, if you're evil, you're ugly. That's totally fine. But, like, they're also, like, obviously, I have a thing for villains because I am a weird goth who loves creepy things. And so the villains always feel a little bit more relatable because they always feel they're a little bit more complicated. They're a person who wants something, who made a choice that hurts people. That's sometimes a little bit more relatable than, hi, I'm Barbie, watch me go on a fun quest. And Eris is a little bit, they like, there's like a glimmer in the moment there where they're like, oh, you know, you felt outcast, and so you made this choice, but it's okay. My mom, Barbie going, my mom would definitely forgive you. And I'm like, you can't make that promise. If my sister locked me in a dungeon for 15 years, I don't think I'd come out ready for hugs. Maybe we'd get there, but first it would be fists swinging. But, like, they give her that moment of, like, you know, you can't do this thing that we're supposed to be able to do as, like, royals, and, you know, you felt outcast. And, of course, she does what I love in a villain to do, is double down on my villainy and therefore get kicked into a tide pool and sucked away. But like I do like that they don't do, I don't think they do enough with it, frankly, of giving her that complexity, because it feels like they're trying to make it complex, but then they're also just like, nope, villain, into the bucket you go. So it's, you know, but she's very fun. It is entertaining to watch Eris, and her whole thing of like, do you love me? Give me your affection. I demand it. Because, like, that's what I would be doing if I had power. Like, that sounds great. She's very entertaining. She's very fun. She's a little bit complex. I wish she was a little bit more. But overall, mwah, love her.
That first scene where she's introduced and she's like, who loves me? And nobody responds and she has to say it again. That is 100% my principal every morning. He comes up on stage to do the morning announcements. He's like, good morning, everyone. And you get a, from the audience. And he's like, good morning. And then you get the two loud people who are like, good morning.
Yeah.
He does that about 3 times before we're all kind of like, okay, we kind of have
You
to.
get, like, clued into, like, okay, hold on. I need to bring energy to this.
It's great, though. You know.
John, any thoughts on Eris?
Pretty much what I said earlier. She's fine. She's Laverna-ish. She has... At least we understand her faults more than Laverna. Because Laverna's just evil for reasons. Here we see that she just feels insecure about her abilities.
Yeah, and it is interesting. I mean, the whole "we're not so different, you and I" trope is very common, but I do think the fact that Marlia is the one who brings it up makes it a little bit... It hits a little bit different.
That trope is always a little bit nicer when it's coming from the hero.
Yeah.
Because it immediately humanizes the villain. It's not a, you're so evil, we're gonna take you down. It's like, I recognize that you went through some stuff which gave you problems that you are struggling with. And like it makes your I was about to say human, makes your hero like more in tune, more sympathetic, because they are reaching out, because they have, you know, gone through their own journey, and so rather than like struggling with themselves, they are now reaching out and they're relating to people, and I like that.
Yeah. So, the last character I have listed here is Remo, the seahorse. Real sweetheart.
He is fun.
I like his little through line about his trumpeting.
He wants to play the trumpet so bad. I was a little annoyed at first, but at the end I was like, all right. That's all right. He's funny. He can stay. I like him.
Let the fish make some noise.
Let the fish make some noise.
Indeed.
You don't have Calissa on here. The queen.
Yes.
I don't know if we wanted to talk about her. Because in you know, comparing this to Fairytopia and Mermaidia, she's sort of Enchantress light, in the same way of like, what are you doing? What is your deal?
At least she's a mother.
But yeah, I do like that we get more with Calissa of like, here's her deal, like she's been locked in a prison for forever, and she's like she's just trying to keep this place that she cares about alive. Like, she is a woman at the end of a rope. She's still hot. MILFs in this movie. The MILFs in this movie. But and like she cares very much. But like, I feel like, I don't know, when she is eventually freed from prison, it is very much back to that cardboard cutout of like, you did it, Barbie. You saved the day. Here's a magic thing to make all your problems go away. And it's like, all right, come on, man. She is more complicated. She is more varied than the Enchantress. And so I do really like that. I wish we knew anything else about Dad. Other than his name's Rip, and I guess he's dead.
Is there a sequel to this film?
There is. So, you know, mayhaps that's what that is for. I haven't seen it. I don't know what that one's about. This was the last Barbie movie before I kind of stopped watching Barbie movies. But, yeah, no. Calista. She's cool.
Yeah, I didn't put her on the list because I didn't really have anything to say.
That's fine.
But yeah, as the Nicole Kidman of this movie, she fills her role. I could definitely see them making a live action version of this movie and having Nicole Kidman
Oh, for sure.
play this role. And
They
of
did.
course, Willem
It's called
Dafoe.
It's called
Aquaman.
Aquaman,
Yeah.
and it rules.
Yeah, it's interesting that Thumbelina had. Maybe I was exaggerating it for a joke, but it did have some similarities to Avatar, and now James Cameron's Avatar, to be specific. And now this movie has a lot of similarities to
Wait,
Aquaman.
which Barbie movie has comparisons to Avatar?
Thumbelina.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
There-
sure. The Save the Planet, all that jazz.
There's also some visual parallels that I found
I believe it.
interesting, considering this came out the
I
same
haven't
year.
seen either movie in a long time, but that sounds correct.
I saw both very close together. Rewatched
Good
both, so
for
that's why it's top of mind.
I gave the characters a 3.5.
Yeah, I gave them a 4 out of 5. I think Merlia really holds down the fort for these characters. I think a lot of the side characters are a little bit less interesting than her, but yeah, it's not a bad thing to have the protagonist of your movie be the most interesting character in your movie, so...
Okay, I gave it a 3 because I feel like they could have done a lot better with the characters.
I gave it a 4.25 because Break, Merlia, Eris, like a lot of these characters were really good, and I really, really liked them. The side characters were like fine, and like none of them were bad, and I felt like they could have been more. But the ones that we did have were really enjoyable, and I did really enjoy. We didn't talk about the oracles or whatever. They're
yeah.
the friggin' jean-wearing mermaids. Like, they were weird and very clearly, like, references to, like, Gwen Stefani and some of these, like, icons from this, like, earlier age. But, like, they were weird, but they were fun, and they had a purpose. And so I feel like that really, like, it just made it so fun and enjoyable. So, yeah, 4.25.
Wet jeans, though.
Wet jeans! That the entire time they were on screen, I'm like, she's wearing denim in the water. What a bad choice. But you know what? We're talking about it. So, you know?
A bold choice, even. If
Yeah, that's part of the animation department.
the fashion here is so of the era, and I don't know how they got it on mermaids, but they got it on mermaids.
It wasn't the worst of the era, though. This wasn't like Hannah Montana, all the layered shirts and skirts with leggings. There was like it was a little tasteful. There were some parts that were like but it wasn't the worst of the era.
I mean, while we're talking about characters and sort of their designs, I think like some of them work really well. Eris, her design is very good.
Eris's design is amazing. It's not. I wouldn't say it's iconic because Laverna is iconic.
Right.
And Eris, I did kind of forget what she looked like until she came back on screen, and I was like, hot. But like, I do love Eris's design.
That haircut, though.
I mean, it's a little like pixie cut with like a big crown thing. Like she's rocking it. I love a short-haired baddie.
Villain haircut, though.
What did you say?
That is villain haircut.
That is a villain haircut. Oh, for sure. And she knows it, and she rocks it. Good for her.
I did also want to shout out the goth mermaid.
The goth. Oh my gosh, that came on screen, and me and my buddy who I was watching the movie with, he was like, "And she doesn't wear this for the rest of the movie? What a downgrade!" And I was like, "I'm with you, baby. I'm with you."
Yeah, I think this is the first time we've had our Barbie character dressed in a goth outfit.
Really? Okay.
Maybe gothic in the historical sense.
In the history, yeah, fair enough. Which, by the way, there was like an artist who made these like different renderings of like Barbie as the girl in the yellow wallpaper, Barbie as Jekyll and Hyde. It's amazing art, and I would love those movies so much. But
I have not seen those.
I'll send them to you later.
Yes. Yeah, I think the animation here is so good.
It's real pretty.
The camera work,
The camera.
Oh,
Yes.
the camera.
especially the surfing scenes, and that's one of those things like surfing, ballet, pretty much any sport. It's very difficult to film in live action because you know the camera. You don't want someone kicking it or it crashing into a wave or.
And you
any
don't
of
look
those.
pretty while you're doing sports.
Yeah.
I
No.
just have to.
And so when they're using the medium of animation to bring these things to life, it's just so much fun. And it's the kind of thing where you're like, yeah, you can't do that in live action. You can't have these like insane camera moves while someone's surfing. So I just, it's always fun to see that. And I think the camera work for the last few Barbie movies has been good, but nothing has jumped out. So to have this camera work here, and as my dad said, these are the best surfing scenes since the Light Station Kilowatt episode of 321 Penguins. he may have been joking, but we'll take him at his word here.
I'll take it.
There were a few times, especially underwater, where it was like, hey, underwater. They didn't do as bad of a job as, I don't know if any of you guys have seen Lull to the Sea, where they get underwater, and then the second they're underwater, it's like they're not underwater anymore. Like, their hair is just like,
There were
it's
a
like,
couple of moments.
Are you underwater, or are you not underwater? Are you, what's going on? So at least they didn't have it to that extreme. But there was, like, times where it was like, if I didn't know you were underwater, I'd be a little confused right now, so.
Yeah. Speaking of the underwater stuff, I think the best underwater stuff is when Merlia is first going to Oceania, and they're going through these very realistically rendered seascapes,
Yeah.
where all of the colors are this very.
It's
muted
literally
blue.
just pictures of the coral put into the spot place.
Okay.
That's what it literally is.
Yeah, I was impressed by how it was done.
Because then they actually go to an actual 3D model of a coral, and it didn't look as good.
Yeah, it
If
where
it
am I
hit you
going
when
here?
it hit you, it
Yeah.
hit you.
It was interesting to see, because of course when they finally get to Oceania and you get into everything, it's very colorful and bright and pink and everything. So having it start out so muted, I was kind of like, oh, I kind of wish they had seen what it would have been like to just do that the whole movie. Could they have pulled it off? Now it's a Barbie movie, so it needs to be bright and colorful, but yeah. As someone who is fascinated by the deep sea and the sea in general, and it was fun to see that sort of more realistic depiction compared to something like Mermaid or even the later parts of this
Oh
movie.
yeah, Mermaidia wasn't trying to be realistic.
No.
It's a mermaid land with fairies and stuff. Like, it's doing whatever it wants to do.
Yeah.
Mermaid Tale, it's weird to say, Barbie Mermaid Tale is a little more grounded, but like, it is. It's supposed to exist in our world, and it, I don't know, it was very pretty. I loved a lot of the underwater sequences. Some of the stuff with like the cave stuff where like of her like climbing up those like walls and then like lighting it up with it was just really like gorgeous. I just thought it was really cool. And the person I was watching it with, he studied animation, and one of the comments that he made was like, it's interesting that like there is a lot of the movement is really good, but in like the scenes where people are like talking to each other, their arms can be like a little bit stiff, which like we see differently. I'm trying to remember exactly what he said, and I'm doing a very bad job at it. Basically, he was saying like the way they would move was just a little bit stiff in a way that was reminiscent of a doll, which he said that is a choice because we can see that they don't necessarily do that during some of the action sequences. And so for them to actively put that in as a stylistic choice is brilliant for a company that makes movies about dolls.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh shoot, I didn't even know that. But, yeah.
Yeah, and as one of our guests on the Diamond Castle episode brought up, like, yeah, these are movies that are kind of meant to be a jumping off point for playing with these dolls. So yeah, I'm glad none of us are animators here, so
No.
I'm glad you brought that perspective in.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, Oceana itself looks fine, but I do love a lot of the fish.
Oh my god,
puns.
the puns! The puns
Sephora.
started coming and they didn't stop coming, and I bent over laughing every time.
I was groaning. I was groaning
The
so
deep
bad.
3
You just
C
know-
player.
Say that again.
Deep Sea 3 player.
Yeah.
C3 play. Yeah, no. Oh my god.
How do they
you-
have
you-
this stuff?
It,
Have they seen a Sephora before?
it doesn't matter. It's just fun. And I loved it. You know, like the animators had a lot of fun.
I'm
pulling that
swimming
together.
on sunshine.
Yeah.
Ah.
Oh my gosh. Bonkers.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing that I appreciate. If it's just like a swing for the fences, and
Yeah.
they just go for it, and it's
But like even in that sequence, because you get like the jokes, but then you also get like the different shots of like Merlia coming through, and then there would be like a gag about like, oh, these, you know, this octopus legs, and so it makes it look like there were these really like clever motions, and so it would be like joke, and then like something really clever, joke, something like really visually interesting, and it was really cool to like see that all pulled through together, and I loved it.
yeah.
It wasn't cheesy and goofy, for sure. Did I still really have a good time? Absolutely.
Yeah, the physics in here are a little bit shaky sometimes. I think the worst is the mermaids that are swimming upright.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like that is not how mermaids should be swimming.
Maybe it is to these mermaids.
It-
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't understand how they. But
What are your bones? Throttling a mermaid. What are your bones?
One of the things I really liked about the design of the city, and I don't see this a lot in like underwater cities, but it makes a lot of sense, is like the different levels of like, because it's like a lot of underwater cities, they're all like on the ground. It's like, you don't need to do that because you can literally just like, you don't need stairs. You can literally just like
they just go
swim.
up.
So like, why does everything need to be at ground level? Like it doesn't, and they really didn't have that. And kind of in some shots, you can see they didn't really have anything on the ground at all. It was all kind of raised up. And it's like, oh yeah, well that makes like more sense than just like everything needs to be on the ground because, you know, we need stairs.
No, we don't, baby. We can swim.
Yeah, I was impressed with the animation here.
Yeah, the only down parts to the animation that I saw was just background character designs look pretty bland. I get it, they're background characters, but a little more effort in just color choice and just...
You already had an emo Barbie, put her in the background.
Yeah,
yeah,
Oh
do
my
that.
God.
And of course, I don't like the look of the fish, because they look like the shark tail fish.
Yeah.
They're so ugly.
Why they got teeth, though? Why they got teeth, though?
yeah. The Barbie movies have characters that shouldn't have teeth having teeth quite often. Mainly Bibble,
Mainly Bibble.
but yeah. I did like the manta sharks. They were kind of cute.
The other thing that my buddy with me said, specifically about the manta sharks, is like, I'm glad they didn't just do great white sharks. I'm glad they made like an interesting choice with it and made it different. And I did really like that as well.
No.
I like how they said, let's make sharks but goth. Which, as the resident goth, I appreciate very much.
Yeah, and it is worth noting, manta sharks aren't a fictional creature. There was evidence discovered in 2018, so this Barbie movie is predating...
Barbie predicted the future!
Well, Barbie predicted the past, actually.
Oh,
Because these are
there you go.
prehistoric,
Ooh,
prehistoric
interesting.
sharks that resembled manta rays, apparently. This is... I didn't read the articles, just the headlines, but this was National Geographic, so...
Heck yeah! That's cool. I like that.
Yeah, I gave the animation a 4.5 out of 5. I was very enthralled by it, especially those early surfing scenes, and that they start out with that. It just gets you in right in the beginning.
I gave it a Is that a 4.5?
That's a 4.5.
Yes, I gave it a 4.5. Just because I really enjoyed the animation. I think they could have done a better job, but, you know, it was made a while ago. It's not made to look pretty, so.
Well, it is, but it's maybe hasn't aged as well.
Yeah.
I also gave it a 4.5 because it sucked me in, had a great time. It was beautiful. I loved the wild ride. It made me laugh. It gave me moments of awe. It was real pretty, and I liked it a whole lot. There were a couple of moments that were maybe a little more simplistic than I would have liked, but still phenomenal.
I gave it a 3.5 because, like I said, some character designs were a bit bland. I don't like the fish. And I feel that the facial expressions aren't as strong as previous versions of the... Yeah.
So next up we have voice acting, and before we dive in, we have to address the drama.
The drama.
There's drama?
There's drama.
There's
my
drama.
gosh.
This is the final Barbie movie starring Kelly Sheridan as the Barbie
What?
character, at least for now. Now, I'm not going to spoil if she comes back,
Okay.
but...
I know the answers to this, but yeah.
But like I said, this is the last Barbie movie I ever, looked for. And
Yeah.
so I didn't even know that Kelly left. Oh my gosh, she is Barbie.
Yeah.
How do you do a Barbie
And
movie without her?
She didn't leave, she was recast.
Oh my gosh.
So, this is all according to the Barbie wiki, but this was apparently something she posted on Facebook, was that she was told that Mattel was making changes, and this is a quote, to the entire Barbie brand, and that it was going to affect the types of movies they would be making. They wanted to move away from the classic princess stories in an effort to focus on something more modern and fashion-oriented. So, as
Makes
part of
sense.
this shift in direction, they sort of didn't bring Kelly Sheridan back. It kind of makes this movie a break-off point for the sort of... I've been thinking of it as the silver age of Barbie movies, where we had the golden age of the early ones, and then this silver age here, and now with Kelly Sheridan kind of being cut out, it's
It's a sad day in Barbie history.
yeah. And fans did petition to have her come back in the role, and I will leave it a mystery for now as to if she will return. So
Oh my gosh.
you'll have to tune in every week to figure out if she comes back.
Bonkers.
Or go to IMDb, but don't.
Yes, you can spoil
I
it.
can't believe they would do that. That
I
is
understand the logic.
Barbie.
You know, they've had... How many films is this? 17? With the
Yes.
same actress? You know, maybe they wanted a fresh start. I get the logic, but yeah, no. Yeah, don't do that. Unless she wants to leave. Unless she wants to leave, you don't do that.
Yeah.
Then again, who are we to say? It's their business.
Too bad I get to say Kelly is Barbie. Dang it. All right, interesting. No, I didn't even know that. Thank you.
Yeah, that was... It's I've been teasing it for a few weeks now. So
Oh, okay.
But yeah, Kelly is again playing the lead here, and yeah, I mean she does a good job. This is each week I have less to say about her because it is like watching a TV show where it's like you get used to the voice.
What is there to say?
Yeah.
She is Barbie.
Yeah.
She does a
Right.
great job.
I think it's unfortunate that this is like the note she's going out on because it's
Yeah.
like she can do so much, and it's like this isn't a role that's demanding too much of her. It is more involved than some of her other roles have been here in these Barbie movies, but yeah, she did Princess and the Pauper, where she played two separate characters, very similar voices, but entirely different performances.
She has the range, darling.
Yeah. And then, yeah, we have in the cast a lot of returning faces. We have Kathleen Barr is once again the villain.
I was a little disappointed with that. You know, I like Kathleen Barr, but this is her third villain role. That's almost exactly the same as Laverna.
Yeah.
I would have liked something different.
Yeah, I think that's fair. She has been playing a very similar role, but she's good at it.
I know she's good at it, but it's still a little more distinction would be nice.
Next up on our cast list, we actually have, and I'm just looking this up now because I forgot to do it before the episode, but we have Peter Mell, who's playing the surfing announcer, and I bring him up because he is actually a professional surfer.
Okay. I was gonna say, because when he's like narrating Barbie's moves, I don't know what to call it, I don't know how surf works. When he's like narrating like what she is doing and all her like techniques, I was like, okay, either they made up a bunch of really good stuff or they actually figured out surf terms, because this is rad. I like this.
Yeah, I think it's a bold choice to be like, okay, we brought on a professional surfer for our surfing scenes.
He's an actual dude.
Yeah. We also have Tabitha St. Germain has played Zuma the dolphin. We have a few newer names here. Nakia Barres is playing Fallon, and Marique Hendricks is playing Hadley. A few newer names throughout the supporting cast, but yeah, for this one I didn't really have any performances to spotlight. I don't know if other people do.
I mean, I love Break. He's only in there for like a scene or two, but like he packs so much character into his brief moments that are just like very good, and I love that. I love that very much.
Yes, and he's played by Gary Chalk, who
Hell
I
yeah,
believe has
Gary.
been in several of these Barbie movies.
I believe
I think so too. Yeah.
Well, like I said, it's almost like a TV show where we're hearing the same people coming back to very similar roles often, so it is maybe a bit more difficult to talk about each individual performance.
Yeah.
But yeah. Overall, I gave the voice acting a 4 out of 5. Again, solid across the board. There weren't any performances that blew me away, but nothing stood out as incredibly terrible either.
I gave it a 4 out of 5 as well. It was good.
I give it a 4. Yeah.
I gave it a 4.25 because everybody did just really good and it was really fun. There was a lot of character in few moments. There were some characters who like they had really good voices, but like they weren't necessarily like in-depth character, and so it's a little mix and match. But like it was still really good. Kathleen can do no wrong. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
A brief note about animation that I forgot to mention. The transition to the credits, I thought was really weak.
Oh yeah.
what was it?
It just
I don't remember.
it wasn't a natural transition. It was just like crossfade to credits.
Huh. I didn't register that when I saw it. That's interesting. Yeah, usually you want something strong.
I'm surprised they didn't do like a splash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, finally we have the music.
Music.
Ooh.
Swimming on sunshine.
that is maybe the least impressive song in the movie, which
No, I know.
I don't know. I like the songs here.
Queen of the Waves was like fun. It was fine. Like it's not my favorite of the like here's the song from the Barbie movie. Like Diamond Castle had a bunch of like really like I still remember, me and my buddy still sing Connected when we're like doing whatever nonsense chore around the house. But like Queen of the Waves, I forgot existed until I came back to it and I was like, oh, that's right. The kids I babysat knew all of the words and dance moves to this song. It's still really fun. And, like, I do, like, get with it. And I do still enjoy it. But, like, it's not... It fades for me a little bit. It's still fun. I still like it. I wouldn't rush to put it on a playlist.
Now, Sarah, I don't want to blow up your spot, but you seem to enjoy Queen of the Waves quite a bit.
It's a bop.
It's a Just Dance song. That is all I'm gonna say.
Yes, it's a very Just Dance song. Or do you mean literally? Is it actually in a Just Dance game?
I think it is actually.
Good.
Hopefully.
It is.
It's got that like vibe to it. Because I mean, it comes with motions, so like yeah,
There's
I
a
could see
dance
that.
to it as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like a fan-made Just Dance song or if it's like an official Just Dance song, but it just gives off those vibes
It very much does.
that like it
Which
is
those
Just
games
Dance.
were coming out around this time, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think this would have been when like the Dance Dance Revolution style, where you have the mat, was kind of seeding way to the Just
To the
Dance,
Just
where
Dance
you have
style,
like with the motion control stuff becoming more common. So yeah, it is. I mean, these songs are very similar to the songs we had last movie in Three Musketeers, but unlike in Three Musketeers, they actually fit the time period.
They fit the time period, yes.
So yeah,
But the film has to stop in order to have the songs happen and dance to it.
Except it fits when they have to get the.
But it took way too long. They sung through the entire song.
yeah. I think is Queen of the Waves in this movie 3 times.
Oh, I think
I
so.
think it's just twice.
No, it's at the beginning.
Oh,
then
and
it's
the Laverne, or not Eris, yeah, you know, and then the credits. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I liked them enough, but yeah, I think Swimming on Sunshine is the one where it's like that's where they really like pump the brakes. To,
Where it's like, oh, hold on.
yeah,
Because, like, Queen of the Waves is not a song that I know exists, but, like, everyone knows Walking on Sunshine, and so it's sort of, like, halts everything and makes you go, wait, hold on, and, you know, it makes you ask the questions of, like, how did they have this song? Who wrote this song first? Did they plagiarize it from humans, or did humans plagiarize it from the mermaids? Did they independently write these songs? What is it? Like, and so it kind of it does throw that little wrench into the situation.
and for me, I was like, what does Swimming on Sunshine mean? And then I was like, wait a second, what does Walking on Sunshine mean?
You could easily.
So it forced you to engage with the media critically.
Yes.
Maybe the wrong media.
The wrong, yeah. The wrong kind of engagement.
I think it'd be easier to swim on sunshine because you know when the sun like reflects on
Through
the water.
yeah.
You
kinda,
can't
like,
really
you
walk,
can't really
on,
walk on
sunshine.
no.
So,
Both
I
are
think-
really difficult, because you'd be dead.
Yeah. Unless you're in Portal. In Portal, they have the bridges made from natural
You're
light.
right.
That's
Hey.
right.
I would finish that quote, and I could finish that quote, but I'm not.
Do it. Do it.
These bridges are made from natural light that I pump in from the surface. If you rubbed your cheek against it, it would feel like you were standing outside with the sun shining on your face. It would also light your hair on fire, so I wouldn't suggest it.
Perfect.
Great job.
Thank you. That is
Yes.
my... I'm here all week, or next week, actually.
I'm here for all eternity.
The score itself didn't really stand out to me.
Nope.
I think it's really just the songs here that... Yeah. We do have, John, I don't know if you saw this, but we do have a new composer here, B.C.
I
Smith.
saw. Yeah, I saw.
So, yeah, first Barbie movie doesn't necessarily leave much of an impression, but we
No.
saw Eric Colvin kind of improve as he did more of these scores, so hopefully in these next few movies that Smith is doing, he'll be able to.
Hopefully.
Yep.
Assuming they're not all just using songs like these.
Yeah.
Modern songs.
So yeah, I give the music a 4 out of 5. I think the actual, like, Queen of the Waves, it works, and I believe there's another original song that I also liked that I can't think of the title right now. But yeah, the score itself didn't enthrall me.
I was going to give it a 3.5, but I'm swimming on sunshine, and that just distraction dance number brought it down to a 3.2.
I gave it a 2 out of 5 because it was a 0 out of 5, but the Queen of the Waves kind of brought it up a few points because it deserves more than 1 point. But none of the other songs deserve any points, so.
Wow. I gave it a 3.25 because Queen of the Waves is a bop. It's a jam, but it's ultimately a little forgettable in the grand scheme of Barbie. As someone who, like, was immersed in Barbie fully, I did not remember this song existed. And I recited the beginning of Princess and the Pauper to you verbatim with inflection. So, like, I know, I'm not gonna swear, I know my stuff when it comes to Barbie. And so, like, it's just, it's fine. It's fine. It could be better, though, which, you know.
Yeah.
Which leaves me with a total of 17.7, 70%, and a 3.5 rating.
Yep, I have a 20.5 out of 25, which is an 82% or a 4.1. Gets it in sort of the upper half of my rankings here. I'll have to check exactly where it lands, but...
Alright, I gave it a 3.3 or 66%. It's passing, you know. Squeaking by.
My total score is a 20.75, which is an 83%, which that tracks. If you were to make me list my, like, top 5 Barbie movies, I'd probably put this one at, like, a 4.
Yeah,
It's good. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
It could be better. It's not as good as, it's no Nutcracker, it's no Princess and the Pauper, but it's rad.
Yeah, and that leaves our average is 18.9 out of 25, which is a 75%, or a 3.8 on our 5-point scale. And I have the list pulled up here. That puts it pretty high up. It's in sort of the same echelon as Mariposa and Swan Lake.
I believe it.
That sounds right.
Yeah, it was a fun time, I thought.
Yeah.
Any thoughts as we wrap things up here?
Oh, I had a thing that I wanted to say about the animation that I totally forgot to say. In the scene where Eris is confronting Calissa in the dungeon, and she's like spinning Marilia and the like shells are spinning around. Like Eris is trying to like kind of mess with her and whatnot. And one of the things that I noticed is when she's trying to figure out, like, oh, who's the father of the child? And she says, like, oh, maybe it could be that, like, human. And the moment she says, like, human, you see, like, Calissa's, like, shells, like, start to go down. Like, she has, like, a visual reaction to that. But it's a very subtle reaction. Because in a Barbie movie, things often get telegraphed very obviously because these are movies for kids, and I liked how this movie had there were a couple little moments like that were subtle, and if you were paying attention, you would see them, and they would tell you what you needed to know. It didn't, hold the audience's hand the entire way through. Like it's giving you the cues and it's letting you pick up on that, and I love that. I love that very much. That's it. That was the thing I wanted to say about animation. I love this movie. It's very fun. It's not, I would say, yeah, like top 5, maybe if I had to do a top 10, it might be about like a 6 or something, or 6 or a 5. Like, it's a fun movie. I do love it very much. It's definitely one of the better Barbie movies. And I'm very honored that you had me come on and talk about it.
Yeah, we're very happy that you were able to come for this episode, especially as someone who is a fan of this movie. And I think you brought a lot of good perspective on that.
As someone who is one of the co-hosts of a show called Serious Business, I have a lot of experience in getting real in-depth about things that probably didn't need to be looked at in-depth. So, no, I like this. It's very fun. Yeah,
and as we're wrapping things up, I actually wanted to give you a chance because you have multiple projects that...
I do. I like to get real in-depth about things that may or may not like to be in-depth about. So I have a lovely podcast that I am one of 3 co-hosts on called Serious Business. approach serious business with care. It's not a lot like this show. Step 1, we swear. Step 2, it's about Homestuck. So do with that what you will. But my personal passion project that I work on is a YouTube series called The Frankenfiles, which is an in-depth look at the multimedia legacy of Mary Shelley's great horror. Each episode is about a different adaptation of Frankenstein and kind of breaking it down and seeing what does this do with the story of Frankenstein? What's weird about this telling of Frankenstein? And, let's, talk about this story that's been around since 200 years ago. And it's really fun. We're on YouTube. It's called The Frankenfiles. Our channel is The Uncanny Productions. Yeah. Thank you for having me.
I will put links in the show notes for both of those things. I have listened and seen episodes of both of those, and I think they are absolutely excellent.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so
that means a lot.
Check it out if those sound interesting to you, or even if they don't. Maybe you'll
check it out anyway.
Yeah, discover something new. Okay.
You're the real queen of the waves.
Why, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Make sure to follow us on social media. We are Binging Barbie Podcast on Instagram, at Binging Barbie on Twitter, and Binging Barbie, a Barbie movie podcast on Letterboxd. There you can find an up-to-date list of all of our Barbie movie rankings if you're curious where this one sort of lands in the overall scheme. And then you can also, on any of those platforms, find our link tree, which has links to the Tumblr that I mentioned earlier in this episode, and we also have a Facebook page, so follow us everywhere and get notified about new episodes. Like our upcoming episode next week, we will be discussing Barbie, a fashion fairy tale.
Oh boy.
Ooh. Oh boy.
Barbie returns to Paris after Three Musketeers, and I suspect it will be very different this time around. But yeah, thank you everyone for listening.